I think we are live. Hi, everyone. How are you all doing? Welcome to the session tonight. Let's just take a couple of minutes and wait for everybody to join in. Meanwhile, if you have already joined in, let me know where you're coming from, where you are based, and yeah, any questions that you all have, we'll be happy to consider. So let's just wait for like a couple of minutes. All right, so a little bit, about the session tonight. We have two people who have already gotten into the top of the business goals, and they'll be talking about their journey with early action rounds. So we'll be discussing everything about early action rounds, what to do, how to focus, because now is the time, and the schools have started rolling in their questions also. So for those of you, if you haven't considered early action rounds, do have a look, do join, and we'll take your questions, whatever they are. Maybe we can have the screen also and start the presentation. All right. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to the session today. We are from MBA and Beyond, and today we'll be talking about everything related to early action rounds. And the agenda for today is we'll be discussing things about the myths that we hear about early action round. Why should you consider applying to the early action rounds? What schools like Columbia and Duke Fuqua look for in the early action round applicants? How should you strengthen your applications for these early action rounds? Which schools can you consider applying to in the early action rounds? And lastly, when should you start working on your applications for these early action rounds? So we'll be discussing everything in detail. And the speakers for today's session is Kirtana. Kirtana is an IIT Kharagpur graduate, and she has over 6 years of experience in marketing and product at various Indian startups. During her application process last year, Kirtana received multiple admits from top business schools such as Michigan Ross, Virginia Darden, and Duke Fuqua. She is an incoming full-time MBA student to the Duke University Fuqua School of Business, and she's also got a 50% scholarship and was also HSted a Forte Fellow. Welcome, Kirtana. Happy to have you here.
Thank you, Shelby. It's my pleasure to be here and now share my experiences.
Great, lovely to hear them. And the next speaker for our session is Pratibha. Hi, Pratibha. Pratibha is an IIT ISM Dhanbad graduate, and she has more than 4 years of experience in the oil and gas industry. During her application process, Pratibha received multiple admits from top business schools such as Duke Fuqua, Yale School of Management, and Columbia Business School. She is an incoming full-time MBA student to Columbia Business School, along with a 45,000 US dollars scholarship. Hi, Pratibha. Welcome tonight. Lovely to have you here.
Hey Shalki, hi everyone. Happy to be here.
Great. So, we have an amazing lineup of speakers, and we'll just quickly move on to the first question that we'll tackle. Why should you consider applying to early action round? I'll just, open the floor for Kirtana and Pratibha, who can now take on the questions, and they'll walk you through the early action rounds. Go on.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Shalgi, first of all, for that great introduction. And starting with the first question, why should you consider applying to the early action round? So the benefits are not just one, they are multifold. First up, I would just, try and go by the points that we have tried listing here. Early admit means that you are obviously admitted early, you have less stress, you have more time in hand, and then that more time in hand, you cannot imagine how much can you make use of it. So you can prepare for your upcoming MBA, for its process. You can sort out your financials, take care of personal things, and also a very important thing is to pursue pre-MBA internships if you want to. So they can be a great addition to your career after you do your MBA. So the earlier you start, the better. And if you are admitted to an early action round, then you have a lot of time to network, to secure those pre-MBA internships and to actually go through them. Other than that, early action rounds in many of the schools as offer open interview invites. What open interview invites are that you can actually go ahead and secure a spot for an interview and not wait for the school's decision to have you for the interview or not. So it is a guaranteed interview that the school provides you if you apply to the early action round. So that is absolutely, I don't need to state it, it's very advantageous to your application. You get to showcase your personality through an interview if you apply to the early action. And as I said, you have more time to admit to your school alums and beyond after your admit. Kirtana, do you want to take this?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there were a lot of myths that are associated with early action round. On the top of my mind, and as you can see on your screen as well, is that there's a lot of misconception that when you apply, you will not get any sort of scholarship, or your scholarships are going to be very, very minimal. But as you can see, Pratibha has received $45,000 from Columbia Business School, and she's also received scholarship from Duke Fuqua, both of which she applied during the early action round. And I myself have applied in the early action round as well for Fuqua and received a decent enough scholarship. So the scholarships depend upon the kind of profile that you have and the kind of value and merit you're bringing to the class. It doesn't apply. It doesn't matter which round you're applying. So the first thing that you should definitely cross off on your list is that if I apply in early action, I'm not going to get scholarship. That's absolutely not the case. And there's also this myth that if I apply earliest, then my chances of admit are always higher. But that's necessarily not the case. I mean, while your chances are higher, but only with a great application. If you're hurrying up your application and probably doing a very poor job of your essays, of your resume, which consists of, I will say, it's a major part of your application. And if that's not coming out right, and even you applied in early action, it still doesn't gonna get you an admit. So then another myth that for you to cross it off is this one. Anything that you want to add here, Pratibha?
No, no, beautifully summarized, Kirtana. I think we'll follow along after this if the audience have some more myths that they want to crack.
Sure.
Right. And what do schools look for in early action rounds? I think the schools look for pretty much the same things that they look for in the other rounds as well. But if you are an early action applicant, there is a certain amount of commitment which is a bit extra than the other rounds. So you are showing a great deal of commitment if you are applying in the early action round, and that will absolutely work in your favor. As Kirtana was saying, that it would give you an advantage. And also the value fit. So no matter which round you are applying to, early action rounds also make sure that your values resonate with the values that the school presents, and you are a candidate which fits into the culture of the school. So those are the two very important things that especially the early action rounds and generally all the rounds look for.
Right.
Yep. I think adding upon what Pratibha's mentioned, like value fit is extremely important, especially in early action round, because you are saying technically, I'm in love with you, which is why I'm ready to commit to you. That is why I'm applying as early as possible. So it's really important that you actually resonate with the values of the school and convey to the school why you're really really interested, in them, and why they should consider you as the potential prospective student. And how could you strengthen your application, considering early actions are probably a month ahead of in general round one applications. So first thing you should have definitely ready is research about the school. Since you're showing a commitment and love towards the school, you need to really really know about the school. And and you have to convey whatever you've learned about the school in your essays. And one of the best ways that you could definitely do this is, apart from the webinars which the school conduct, you could reach out to current students, alumni, or even probably all the admission coordinator, reach out to MBA fairs and every other place just to know more about the school, and show whatever you've learned. Put it all into your essays, and that's really going to strengthen your application specifically for an early action. And goals are a major part of not just for early action, for any round, goals play a very important role. It's really important that you show what is it that you really want to do in the short term and in long term. And it needs to be really practical in a way that after your MBA you would be able to achieve these goals, specifically the short term goals. And needless to say, GMAT, GRE, you need to have it ready. Now, when you're applying, you take at least 1 month on a roughly basis to work on your first school. So, having all of this ready would give you that amount of time to work on your essays. Anything you'd like to add here, Pratibha?
No, absolutely, Kirtana. I think the time frame that you summarized is really important. You need at least a month to carve out a perfect essay. It's never perfect, but yeah, good enough application for the first school, and then you can follow along for the further schools that you are applying to. But it's very important to take out that time and research well as much as you can and show your commitment. Yeah, we can go to the next topic. Right. So, in case you all are wondering which are the schools that offer early action or early decision rounds, there are many schools, not just the US ones, but the schools around the globe. So, to name a few, I would start with the US schools. So, Duke Fuqua and Columbia Business School, you already heard of. Virginia Darden also offers an early action, and along with that, the open interviews are also offered by Darden. Rotman by Toronto, one of the most prestigious B schools of Canada, it offers you the advantage of early action. Ohio Fisher, IASE, and Tuck School of Business are others to name a few, which would offer you the early action or early decision advantages. So do make sure to check them out, and wherever you see yourself to be the best fit, or if you see yourself to be fitting in every one of these schools, and if you are ready, then do make sure to apply here. Anything else, Kirtana?
Yeah, I think Pratibha, whatever shared, it perfectly summarizes. I mean, you have an array of options. You just got to be ready for that early action round. So, how do you start working on applications? Firstly, just give yourself 1 to 1.5 month time. I mean, it's really easy for us to overestimate that. Probably I'm just gonna sit for 2 days. Just a 300 word essay. How long it's gonna take? But trust me, it takes a lot of time. uh, you know uh, your first draft is probably not your best draft. You gotta like work on it multiple times. And it's not just one essay, right? You're working on 3 4 essays for schools, and specifically for the early action schools there, all of them listed, they have pretty lengthy essays. And each of them have at least 3 to 4 in their application docket. So give yourself that time, and because this would be one of your earliest applications, you will take such a long time to prepare and also bring out the best possible. And another thing is, get your scores ready, be it whatever exam you're comfortable with, GMAT, GRE, or early action, and definitely the goals. And only apply when you're ready. I mean, when you feel that, okay, I have a better chance of scoring a higher GMAT score if I put in that 1 month, and probably get there 730, 740, whatever you're aiming for. And give yourself that time. Do not just apply for the sake of applying. Only apply when you're absolutely ready, and when you know for a fact that this is the best possible that I can do in this particular year. Only then, just apply for early action. So that's my 2 cents on it. Pratibha, anything that you want to add here?
No, agreed, 100% agreed. And the point that Kirtana was saying, that give yourself those 45 days. And I really like the point that your first draft is probably not your best draft, even if you feel so. Please take help of your mentors, please take help of your friends, and have it through with them. Let them read it and let them see if your personality comes out into your essay. So take that time. Whenever you are ready, only apply. Then do not just run behind early action just because it seems very advantageous on the outside.
All right. So maybe Kirtana, Pratibha, you can take a quick break, and maybe I can help walk you through the process of how you should be strategizing the applications. So I'll just quickly help understanding how we work at MBA and Beyond, for instance. So we listen to your story, we try to assess your personality, and for this you can sign up for a profile evaluation call with us. It's going to be an extensive 30 to 45-minute session where we try to assess your background, we try to see what your goals are, and then we help you in strategizing what should be your next 4 to 5 months looking like, right? So we start from there, we try to understand you, and the first part of the process is everything about you, right? We try to understand you, and this is something which we call content gathering process. Now, within this content gathering process, the first step is that we try to know you from know about you from yourself, right? So from this, we try and understand what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what your goal is. Within this process, you'll be answering very high level questions about yourself, about your aspirations. You'll also be looking at a lot of sample essays from previous applicants who have made it to the top business schools such as Columbia, M3, M7s, and many more. This is just to give you an idea that how an ambitious application is going to look like, and it will also give you an idea about the quality of application that you need to work on to be able to present to the adcoms. So this is the first step of the process, and the second step of the process is that we try to know you from people who know you best. So within the second step, we kind of ask you to get three contacts from your life. These could be your friends, your family members, also your professional supervisors or professional colleague. Some applicants are very smart. They kind of get in their recommenders into the process because ultimately they also need LORs little later. So your contacts are going to be answering very specific questions about your strength, about your weakness, and certain instances where your recommenders feel that you have really outshined, on certain quality. If let's say you are a good leader, so maybe they remember certain qualities where your leadership role has really, kind of come out very well. And within this process, you will realize that there are certain weaknesses that your friends and family tell about, which you haven't really considered earlier. So, the reason why we go through this process is because we speak to AdComs every single year. And one thing that they keep on saying every time is that they see a little self bias in the application. Now, what this basically means is that these AdComs go through thousands of applications every year. So they can see that you only talk about the positive aspects, you talk about the KPIs you have achieved, all the good qualifications that you have, but you really do not talk more in depth about your setbacks, your failure, or any red flag that you have in your application. Now this is very important because this shows that if you're rushing up your weaknesses, it shows that you are not really introspecting about yourself. So in order to eliminate that, you will also realize that this process is very helpful. The second aspect within the process is that you will need to put in a lot of examples for your personality trait. So if you say that you are very driven, you have to show what you've done to be able to say that you're driven. So you will need all of these examples, and this is the second step. The last step is basically where everything, the magic happens, right? This is where we try and understand what your personality is, right? What your values are, what you stand by, and then we match it with the schools that you're targeting. So, for example, if Columbia really looks for an applicant who has a very good impact in their profile, that you need to talk about your impact that you have created within your professional journey or your personal journey. So we make sure that we do this matching and then tell you which schools are best fit for you. We help you in your story, your theme, and that's going to be very important for your application. So when we are done with this content gathering, now we know you better, and then we have a MBA pitch that is ready for you. The second step is your branding for global MBA, where we suggest you schools and then we start prioritizing which schools you need to start working on first. Within this step, you will also be assigned. You'll be working with a team, and one of them is going to be a therapy practitioner who is going to bring out the personal side of your story, and then you will work on with the consultant who is going to work on the BSchool application part. And this we have a variety of consultants. Some of them have more than 10 to 15 years of experience. They've been part of adcoms. They've been part of dean of admissions, and there are certain consultants who are who have worked with Fortune 500 companies. I've recently gone to the B schools in the last 5 years. And again, it's going to be either an alumni or an incoming student or a current student who is going to be your consultant based on the schools that you're targeting and the background that you're coming from. Now, this consultant is going to be also helping you in each and every part of your application materials, right from essays, LOR, resume, interview preparation as well. Any essay, whether it is written essays or video essays, we kind of help you within writing your application. Like Ketan and Pratibha said, the first draft is going to take the longest. It's going to take like good 20 to 25 days to be able to present the first application, and the subsequent ones are going to be a little faster. We help you with the essays and LOR because we want to make sure that there is nothing which is repeated in the process, because you don't want to write something in the LOR which is also written in your essays. You have to make sure there is no repetition. So we work with each and every step of the process with you. Once you start hearing from the schools, we help you in mock interview preparation. There's unlimited mock interviews that you can do with us, and we help you till you're confident enough to take the interview in your direction, right? So after interview, we also help in scholarship essays if this is something that you're looking for. So if you're interested, do book a profile evaluation call with us. I think very soon you'll have a link to the profile evaluation call in the description. And we also have a very interesting offer for you all. So for the attendees tonight, You can get on a free profile evaluation call with us. And on the basis of the strength of your profile, our team of experts are going to be selecting top three of you all who will get a chance to avail a free interview preparation with us, which is going to be worth about $500. So get on a call, and we have a deadline of till 24th of June. So we are accepting and getting on a call with you. And all the best for the chances. I'll now move on the floor for questions. So if you have any questions, we'll now start answering them. All right, let's just see what's the first question over here. Okay, so all right. So the first question is, are early action rounds binding? This is the first thing that I can see. Maybe Kirtana or Pratibha can help answer some of the questions. Pratibha, Kirtana, let me know which one of you would like to take this question.
Sure. I think I can take this up. Uh,
Sure.
yes, early action rounds are binding, but it really depends upon school as well. Like for instance, CBS and Fuqua are binding in nature, whereas Darden offers you two options, which is binding versus non-binding. So when you choose a non-binding option, you're not technically tied to the school. But the majority of the schools, early action rounds are definitely binding. The reason here is that because early action meant you are showing interest and commitment towards the school, and that's binding in a way that telling them I'm totally committed to you guys. Pratibha, anything that you like to add here?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the option that Darden provides differentiates it from schools like Fuqua and CBS. So once you have received an admit to the school, technically you are promising the school that you would come up there, you would pay your deposit in time, and you would attend the school. So yeah, for most of the cases, they are binding.
Right. So if you're applying to the target schools, do look at their website and see if they're binding or non-binding. So some of them do give you an option. They will tell you upfront. The websites are a very good starting point to, actually check what they are looking for in the applicants. So maybe you can look at them and then understand if this is something that you'd like to consider. So there's another question that asks about how long you start to prepare for application process before the deadline. I'm assuming this is for the early action deadline. So maybe Pratibha, Kirtana, if you can take this.
Sure. So for any round that you are targeting, if it is early action or any round for that matter, at least give yourself 45 days before you start preparing your application, so that you can assess your profile, you can collect your stories, you can sort them out, you can pick and choose, and then start formulating your essays. And it's not as straight a process as it seems like on the outside. So when once you go ahead and explore the entire application of one school, you would realize that there is much more to it than just the essays. So do make sure to check that out beforehand, before you decide to prepare your application for the school. So if you give yourself 45 days before the deadline, then you would have enough time in your hand to do all the necessary steps and have a thorough sanity check of your essays, and have them reviewed. And once you are confident enough that every element of your application is right, only then submit it. Kirtana, anything else?
No, I think Pratibha has beautifully shared all the aspects that goes into application process. Another point which I would like to add is, one thing which a lot of us oversee is, networking with students, and that's often takes longer than what you actually expect, because you probably reach out to people on LinkedIn or probably from the school websites. It typically takes you probably a week to 10 days to get a revert back, because they're all busy, and then you go on and interact with them, and that's quite a lengthy process, the entire networking aspect of it. And adding another point to that is, it's like for example, I evidently remember in Columbia application they asked for, with whom all did you reach out to, and so is the question in the Fuqua application folder, and that's a part of application too. So while 45 days appears to be a very long time, networking would also take the similar amount of time. So no, I think 45 days is something that you should definitely give yourself for.
Yeah, absolutely agree with both Pratibha and Kirtana. It's going to definitely take a little longer. So make sure that you kind of give yourself a buffer period because you may have your own professional and personal commitment as well. And you also want to make sure that you put your best answers in the essay questions, right? So I think we'll just go to the next question. And the question is, does having great work and entrepreneurial experience make up for lower GPA and GMAT? Okay, so we have very little information. So maybe we can take this question. Yeah.
Sure. Kitna, do you want to start or?
Yep. So I'll be honest. When I started off my entire application journey, I fell into both of those categories. I had less than average GPA, and I also had a less than average GMAT. So when I reached out to one of the Darden's Adcom, just in terms of understanding where do I stand, what do they expect, one of the reasons that they shared was they look out for academic caliber, because at the end of the day, MBA is an education degree. You need to be someone who is, you need to be someone who can clear the course. You need to be someone who understands everything, and both of these two elements give the outcome that kind of point to judge you on. Is this person academically, can they take the academic rigor of the program? So it's best to have either one of them to be really good. But having said that, if you think your work and entrepreneurial experience is totally out of the world, then maybe it could compensate, but it's best to have some academic strong point to begin with.
Agreed, 100% agreed. You need to showcase your academic caliber, and more often than not, schools do look for some quantitative skills, not a lot, but yeah, so that you are able to comprehend and you are able to at least get through the courses, which can be quite heavy at times. So these are the two measures: your tests, your standardized tests, as well as how you performed in your undergrad or grad school. So GPA is something that you obviously cannot change going back in time, but GMAT is some GMAT, GRE, or executive assessment is something that you can absolutely work on right now. So give it your best shot, and if you feel that this is your best score, and you anyway want to apply with that score, then obviously make use of your great work experience, make use of those little stories to showcase that you are much more than that, and then you have those skills. It is just not reflecting in that in those standardized tests. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely summarized very well by both Kirtana and Pratibha. So you really need to, first assess how strong is your work experience, right? And with respect to which schools that you're going to be targeting. So you need to have that initial evaluation first to be able to understand that is this experience going to actually be able to, speak for your lower GPA and GMAT. So like Pratibha said, you cannot go back and change your GPA. So you have the best foot in terms of GMAT and GRE, and we strongly suggest that you try and compensate and have one thing which is higher so that it shows that you really have a very good academic rigor also for the program that you're going to be applying. So, we can discuss more on a call, but I'll just jump to the next question, which is it a good idea to apply to more than one early binding school? What happens if you get accepted to more than one early binding school? So maybe, people who have gone through the early action rounds can help you better in this. Yeah, Kirtana, Pratibha, go on.
Sure. Okay, so I applied to Darden. I've applied to Columbia. I've also applied to Fuqua. All of them are in early action rounds. So here is what I've done. Legally and ethically, morally, I mean, you should not apply. You should not apply to all the schools. But the way I pan it out was, Darden, I've applied to non-binding option, and Colombia has a turnaround of 6 to 8 weeks. So even if you apply super early, say by July end, you will hear back definitely by September first week. And Fuqua results come in the October mid. So I know for a fact that I would have some or the other clear idea of how should I go about it. If I heard back from Colombia, I would have pulled back from Fuqua, and Darden was already a non-binding, so I was all right with it. So that's how I've panned it, so that at least I have better chances of applying to all the early action schools possible. Pratibha, over to you.
Yes, exactly the same strategy that I had used. Even I also applied to Darden, and it was a binding option, mind you. And so I got my Fuqua decision earlier than Darden, so I pulled out my application, and Columbia was just a few days afterwards. So I pulled out my decision from Fuqua as well. So you can absolutely do that. You can apply to more than one school, because let's be honest, nobody wants to be that overconfident that they would definitely get to one school if they are applying to it. So definitely apply to more than one school, but strategize accordingly so that you can make your decision when the time comes to it.
Yep, absolutely. So maybe you'd want to, see your guess and hedge your bets also, which schools you would like to target and which is the one that you're absolutely certain about. So we have a question which asks, how is employer brand matter? So, yep, maybe you can talk about your brands that you've worked with.
it it does matter, but it's not a make or break. That's what I would say. So I would not disclose the exact details, but just prior to my application I was under a dilemma that with respect to my employer and the brand name. So you know I made that decision based on, so I had a chance to work with another employer with a better brand name, so that would have helped my application. But then I was just beginning my application journey, so I didn't feel that it was ethically right for me to jump to another employer when I know that ultimately I'm going to leave them after 10 or 11 months. And honestly speaking, now that I look back, I understand that had I done that, the admissions committee also understands this. So if you are jumping from one employer to the other just for the sake of brand value, please do not do that just for the sake of it. If you are really close to your admissions journey, but if you are associated with a good brand, make sure to use it as much as you can in your application and bring that out in your essay, so that big brand names actually matter. Because if you are able to survive there and if you are able to excel in such a huge company, then you would be absolutely able to excel in your MBA and post that. So yeah, that's my 2 cents for it. Kirtana, anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I totally resonate with what Pratibha has shared. The reason that adcoms look out for brand names is because one, it is difficult to get into them. I mean, it's really difficult to get into Google, Facebooks, and other top companies, which also shows your caliber and your determination and the kind of person that you are. So that's one of the reasons that brand names matter. But having said that, even if you do not have a big brand name, that doesn't mean that everything's going to dogs. It's not like that. I worked at startups, and I can pretty much tell you that they have not heard of it. And the quality of your work also really matters a lot. Say for instance, you're at a very top company but you're not doing that great, it's not going to help your application. But if you are at a startup but you're bringing such a huge impact to the entire growth of it, then it's going to add to your application. So that's what I like to share that.
Yep, I think rightly addressed by both Keerthana and Pratibha. It's also about the quality of your experience that actually matters. Even if you are in, let's say, a not so known organization, that organization might be very well known in the home country, but not so much at the global perspective. But what you've actually learned and understood is something that is also equally important. So focus on that, and then take on your application. The next question we have is on, somebody's asking, please tell MBA colleges for people who are more than 9 years of experience whether they should go for 2 years of program or 1 year MBA, whether they will get placement opportunities in year course. Maybe I can help and walk and understand, the difference between the two MBA programs. So there are a lot of colleges which offer 1 year MBA programs, especially in UK and Europe, and some schools in US and Canada as well. And the idea is that if you have a very good experience, say you have like very good 9 years of experience, you understand a lot of different aspects of how to run an organization and you have a good experience. But if you don't want to, understand a B school in terms of, studying in with a 2 years experience, you don't want to do an internship also, then I think 1 year MBA program is very well. You can also look up in schools in Europe. There's IMD Switzerland, there's LBS, there's NCR, and so on and so forth. And a lot of different schools which give you a 1 year MBA. It's best for those people who want to look at leadership roles and want to understand the whole business perspective without really, compromising and spending 2 years of their program. So yeah, for older applicants, there are a lot of opportunities, and based on your profile, you can choose and select and target the schools that fit your values the most. Yeah. Do you want to add anything, Pratibha, Kirtana, or maybe we can switch to the next question?
I think that's a perfect
Yeah,
answer. I don't have anything to
yeah.
add. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. So we have another question which says, can we switch our recommender once their name is submitted, but the deadline isn't there yet?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, it's a yes.
Yeah.
All right, so you can do that. There you go. All right, so let's just have another question which talks about uh, I have recently joined a new organization. What is the ideal company to take recommender? Previous work experience is 4 years. So I believe you want to know when is the ideal time to take the recommendation, right? If the work experience is 4 years. So maybe Kirtana, you can talk about your journey from your recommenders, and then Pratibha can also follow.
Sure. My managers kept on changing like it's like every new year. So uh, uh, my previous manager, I took my LORs both from my previous managers because again, I mean, speaking with Adcoms, what one of the important things which I realized was that they want to know you from a third person's point of view. It doesn't matter, if the person is probably from a previous work experience. If your current supervisor is someone, who's probably your manager for the last 1 or 2 months, I mean, how much would they know about you in 1 or 2 months time frame? If you feel that your previous recommender can talk a lot more about you, provide more stories corroborating your values, your entire application, then you can go with them. But if your current supervisor has worked with you for probably more than 7 or 8 months, then it's best to go with current supervisor as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. If for in my case as well, so my supervisor had also changed, so I switched to my previous supervisor because he knew me better. So that's a definite criteria for choosing your recommender. They should know you as good, so that they can talk about your work, they can talk about your abilities to their best potential. So do that. And if you have switched to a new organization, and as Kirtana was saying, if you have spent 7-8 months over there, so that your new boss can also talk about your work, then definitely you can choose them as one of your recommenders.
Yep, absolutely. So there you go. That's the answer to your question. And you can then assess, who's a better fit to speak about you. The next question that we have is, how important is it to participate in admission events? And on which point would you approach admission consultant? And how important is it? So yeah, maybe you both have experience with the with taking part in different events and also working with the consultant. You can individually talk about your journey. Go on.
Sure. So it is important to take part in the admission events, both for your benefit and for them to know you, because they provide you with the first hand information about the school, about the culture, about the application cycle in general. There is somebody who is a representative or a part of admissions committee hosting the session, so that you can just go ahead and clear your doubts about the school and get to know it better. And at the same time, I would like to believe that your presence is noted, so just please make use of that as well. And you can never be harmed in doing that. So please make sure to do that. And if you have genuine questions, if you really want to know something about it, make sure to ask those questions. But please do not ask questions which can be one Google search away and which can be readily found on the school's website, because that is sometimes taken as a bit of an annoying sign, and you don't want to do that, obviously. So anything, Kirtana, that you'd like to add?
I completely agree with Pratibha. It is important, definitely for your own benefit. I mean, at the end of the day, you're applying to the school, and you have to talk about school in why school essays. So for that matter itself, you just got to know more about the school. And the webinars could be, very different, right? I mean, probably one day you're attending a webinar by Tech Club. One day it's probably just a chat with admissions coordinator. Another day it could be something related to the activities you're really interested in, probably Women in Business Club, or it could be LGBT club, whatever you want, right? And this gives you a holistic understanding of why the school is a place for you to be in. And also it's also, I think, a great place to connect with people. As I said, earlier, it's important to reach out to students, and these coffee chats and these webinars are one of the best ways to do so. uh,
Absolutely. So thanks for summing it up, both Kirtana and Pratibha. The next question is for you, Kirtana.
yeah.
Somebody wants to know, you've had a lot of work experience, yes, and how did you accommodate all of these in your application? Did you mention the ones that you had the most impact on, or you articulated briefly about everything? Go on,
So
Kirtana.
yeah, so my I had 6 years of experience. Well, that's not, I would say, not very long. But so I did include all of them because there were certain aspects of my role in one specific company which I felt much must be there. So my current experience at my point of applying was the one that covered, say, 25% to 30% of my resume, and the other, my older experiences. I only included the major hits, and as and when my I went back in the past, I just probably included one or two lines. But yes, to answer your question in a yes or no, I did include all of that.
All right. So there's another question which is around, does the GMAT of 710 demands a retake for Columbia and Fuqua? Just to be a little, we don't know your background, we don't know which applicant pool you're coming from. Are you from India? Are you an Indian male engineer? So all of these things and your work experience and your background truly matters to be able to answer this question. But maybe Kirtana and Pratibha can talk about their experience. Pratibha, do you want to go first and answer this question?
Sure. So, Shalki seconded to that. We don't know your background completely, so cannot provide you with a definite yes or no to this question. A 710 can very well get you into both Columbia and Fuqua. However, you must understand that a score of 710 falls below the average score that is required for not required, that is represented by the class profile of Columbia and Fuqua. So. So you understand that the median of the class falls at a 720 or a 730. So to be at par with that, or to show yourself at a better space than they are, what you can do is you can obviously highlight some of the very very important and very strong aspects of your profile and your work experience, which can compensate for that. Maybe if you have a very good GPA, you can highlight that, and if you have a super good work experience, you can obviously make use of that. So a score of 710 would not hinder you from getting into Columbia or Fuqua alone, but obviously it needs to be backed up by so many other elements. So please do assess your profile, take help of anyone, consultant or a friend or a mentor, so that you understand where you stand and then decide accordingly. Keithana, anything?
Yep, completely agree with what Pratibha has shared. There are people who got in with 710. There are also people who did not get in with 710. To know, I would say, to get a clearer understanding, it's best to, share and all the aspects of your profile, and then seek help from your friends or from consultants and from anybody you feel who would give you a great advice. Having said that, I again don't want to be a bummer, uh, especially if you're an Indian, or it's because of, because hordes of people apply every year. It's best to have at least the average GMAT. But again, having said that, I know personally people right now in Fuqua who have a score of 710 and below. That doesn't hinder you, but they also have other aspects of their profile which really really stands out.
Absolutely. And just another point to add to here is a 710 does not stop you from getting to Columbia and Fuqua, and a 760 or a 770 does not guarantee an admission
Yeah.
as well. So please be mindful while evaluating yourself just on the basis of one ground. Please don't do that.
Absolutely. Very well said, both by Kirtana and Pratibha. You really need to first assess from an experienced a consultant or an expert who can talk about whether your other experience actually compensates for the GMAT of 710. And we also have a follow-up question, around that, which asks, can a low GMAT score of around 620 be compensated with a good essay and work experience? So we have a follow-up questions around that. You also need to see which schools you're targeting. Are you targeting the top 15 schools? Which geography are you targeting? And what's the intake? cycle. Again, like what applicant pool are you coming from? Are you an Indian made engineer who is targeting, let's say, the top 10 schools? Then, 620 is a little low for the school that you're targeting. You might want to increase your score to at least 680, 690 to be able to then, finalize the schools in top 15 to top 20 bracket. And so, what is the other work experience, and how strong and compelling that work experience is? Of course, you can have a very good essay, but it really has to be a little realistic around that time, right? So we need to make sure that we understand your entire journey, and then maybe we can answer it on a call. Yeah. All right. So we have another question, which is around, can you give some insights on short-term and long-term goals essay? So, all right. So the short term is something, what are you planning to do post an MBA? What is immediately that you would like to do after a B school? And the long-term goals is what do you plan to do? What's your longer term vision? What do you plan to do 5 years down the line? How do you see your career going after you're done with your MBA? So maybe Kirtana or Pratibha, Kirtana, would you like to start and address something that how did you come and realize and finalize your short-term and long-term goals?
Absolutely. Again, reiterating what we shared earlier, they are the important aspects of your application, right? I mean, school really wants you to succeed, and one of the best ways that you could succeed is exactly what you want to do after MBA and why you're doing your MBA for. And your short term goal needs to be really realistic, right? I, coming from a marketing background, I cannot probably say I want to get into public policy in US government, being an international. That is not a possible goal. But I could always talk about me wanting to continue my marketing journey, probably in tech companies, and that becomes your realistic short term goal. So this is something that we call as hook. You have your long term goal, right? Something, your biggest dream. It could be something that you want to start your own company. It could be you heading an entire division or CEOs, whatever your dream is, and then you backtrack from there, right? If you want to get there, which short term goal and which job that you have to pick up after your MBA, that becomes your short term goal. That draws the parallel from your long term. And then how will your MBA support you in terms of achieving your short term goal as well as your long term goal? And then, of course, how is your current experience? What are the transferable skills that you're taking out from your current experience that will aid you in this entire journey? So that's what we call as that hook in the goals. But start from your long term goal and then backtrack from there. At least that's what I've done, and it helped me out. Pratibha, over to you.
Yeah, I couldn't resonate more. So this is exactly what I did, and this is exactly what worked out for me for every school that I applied to. Start from your long term dream. It should be realistic, but it should be dreamy enough as well, and then work your way towards your short term goal and how your MBA as well as your current work experience going to help you. Please do not take anything lightly, be it your previous work experience, your ongoing work experience, or the skills that you'll gather from your MBA. Everything is going to make you the professional that you want to be in the longer run, and your short term goal is a path towards it. So please follow that, and I think you'll be good to go.
Yep, thank you for the insights, Ketan and Pratibha. We have a question which is around what factors they consider to offer scholarship, and if possible, can you share your personal experience? Pratibha, would you like to take this question first?
Sure, why not? So, scholarships depend on a lot of factors. There are schools, so I would just talk about the kind of scholarships that the schools provide. So, there are schools which provide you with merit based scholarships, there are schools which provide you with need based scholarships, and there are schools which provide you with both. So, you have to you have to look out for the scholarship options, and the scholarship systems in the terms of the timelines can also differ, but the characteristics that every school looks for are pretty much the same. You should showcase strong ability to succeed once you are pursuing your MBA. You should showcase that you are a good candidate as compared to your peers, people with your similar profiles of work experience or personal experiences, so to speak. So it generally is the same as what you would showcase to stand out for your applications, but just going that extra mile would probably help you in securing a scholarship as well. And as far as the need based scholarship goes by, you have to showcase the need, you have to showcase that you would not be able to afford the education otherwise. Of course there are options to take financial assistance, but if you can get need based scholarships, the it would make your journey really easier. So you can probably draft a statement of purpose around it if the schools ask for. So Columbia, for example, offers you scholarships after you are admitted to the school. So there is a different timeline to getting a scholarship, and in that timeline they release an application for the need based scholarship as well. So merit based scholarship, you don't need to do anything extra, and that is applicable for most of the schools. But for the need based scholarships, you need to probably draft out a short essay, or a one paragraph statement of purpose as to showcase your need. So yeah, Kirtana, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think Pratibha has wonderfully summarized the different types of scholarships involved. I think one thing which I would like to add over and above what Pratibha shared was, schools also have fellowships associated with them apart from the scholarships, which would entitle you to probably somewhere from 50% scholarship to say 100% scholarship. So on top of my mind, I could, for example, for Darden has Batten scholarship, sorry, Batten fellowship, and that's 100% tuition, and that requires you to talk about why you should be a Batten fellow, and it's a lengthy essay that you got to fill up. And again, for Kellogg, you have Drake essay for for to show that you are someone who's up for empowering women, and there's also special fellowship associated with finance. So you could check out individual fellowships for the schools, and more often than not, fellowship would mean that you need to have an additional essay or information to be shared with schools. But on the scholarships, and Pratibha has wonderfully summarized it.
Yep, absolutely. So do look at their journeys and see, what you exactly need to answer when it comes to the specific scholarships that these schools offer. And I'm very sorry, we have a lot of questions, but we can only take just one at the moment. And I think we have one question for you, Pratibha, which is about that you have published a research paper in your undergrad. Have you linked it anywhere in your application? The person is asking says, I have had a few publications with high impact factor and was wondering if weaving that in the application would help in any way.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yes, I do have a research paper in my undergrad. It was a result of an internship that I did, and I mentioned it in my resume, but not in my essays. Because, see, what we need to do is we need to see what the relevance is. So my research paper was technically sorry, it was strictly technical. It was on the subject that I was studying, so it was not very relevant to the essays that were being asked by the school. So I did not feel the relevance of putting it there. But obviously we can discuss what your research papers look like, and how well do they corroborate with the kind of things that the school looks for. And if they do resonate with the essays, then you can obviously find a way to share that experience as well.
Yep, I hope that answers your question. And we had a lot of questions. I'm very sorry we could not answer all of them. But if you do have, certain things which we could not answer, please, you can, take a chance and get on a free profile evaluation call with us. It's going to be a very extensive call, and we'll be discussing everything in depth. Also, just a quick reminder that we are accepting applications, and you can get on a call with us. We'll be by the end of June 24th. We'll be accepting each one of you who are going to get on a call with us. On the basis of your profile, we are offering free interview preparation, and all the best. We do not have a time zone deadline, so maybe before the end of 24th of June, but by the end of day, we can accept and have you all get a decent chance at a free interview prep with us. So do look at the description. I think we do have a link to the profile evaluation call. We would love to hear your stories. We would like to give you a very honest feedback on your profile. Truly sorry once again we could not answer some of your questions. We really hope that we are able to help you better. And if you still think that if there's anything, if you have a very unconventional profile, if you have a very overrepresented profile also, don't worry, we have expert consultants and we would love to take on your questions. So thank you so much for joining in. And thank you so much for, for your questions.